So anyway, also keep in mind a couple things. I have a deep voice, I don't smile much, I can sound kind of harsh. I really care about students improving their writing. I want you to leave this class having gotten your money's worth, having learned something, having learned a lot, and having the tools you need to go out of here and be a really excellent writer. It's going to take a lot of work to get you there though, because we all have to work hard to get to that stage. There are so few born writers in the world. So don't take my tone the wrong way. I'm trying to help here, and you know, there is good stuff in here. There are sentences I'm leaving untouched. That tells me that you can do this. It's just going to take more effort on your part. So I take it that the synthesis section starts off with, when we're talking about interest groups as a whole, there's not good and bad, there's nothing wrong with that sentence, but it should have a cite. But you then have a sentence that begins, a substantial amount of evidence can be found in numerous papers, exactly as 3 articles. That sentence doesn't add much, if anything. Then you say, if you read into the text deeply and so on. This is sort of your meta comments. You have in the first person, I would have to say. None of that is really fitting in the mode of academic writing. So I've struck all of that. You can, your last sentence, there are reasonable argument to be made on that on balance, the current dominance of interest groups has been harmful to democracy. That's fine, put a cite on it. Again though, we are pretty redundant here. You ask, why does interest groups work against democracy? The question yields several answers that collectively start to explain the harm that they are causing. That's me taking what you wrote and trying to turn it into something I think is a bit more succinct and hard-hitting. So compare what you wrote and what I wrote there, the highlighted yellow part I gave you. As stated earlier, the American government was built on compromise. Without compromise, so then I'm highlighting here, it says, without compromise, there is no democracy. So those are the kind of errors that you really want to be super careful about. It's not a good look. Employers are going to question you on stuff like that. Make sure you have a good proofreader, and make sure you give yourself enough time that you can put a piece of writing away and then come back to it 24 hours later with fresh eyes, or 12 hours later, or some period of time where it's not something you just wrote, because these kind of mistakes just get right by us in that situation. All right, and I'm going to apologize there. I think I made a mistake when I was reading what I was editing here. So that subject-verb agreement was not a big deal. It's actually not a problem. I think I was reading out of the cycle. All right, so scratch that. So anyway, you make you write something here where you talk about there be no such thing as the 10 amendments. You don't capitalize amendments either. I presume you're talking about the Bill of Rights. Call it the Bill of Rights. That's kind of self-evident there. And you also say, in a world where democracy is held to such a high level. But that's not the world we're in right now. Democracy is on life support at this point, even in the United States, arguably. You want to bring some sense of a critical view of reality here. You know, look at what's going on in Eastern Europe. Look at places like Turkey, all the places that have lost any semblance of democracy. Egypt, a little while ago. Russia just steamrolled into Crimea. I can go all around the world and find places where democracy is taking it on the chin. And so take note of that. Anyway, the rest of the way, I feel the last paragraph held together okay. I only had one minor modification on it. Really, the point here comes down to two things. I know you know how to write. I think you have to just work on concentration when you're writing, giving yourself enough time to do a good job, the best job you can do. And I think you also need to work on developing an internal editor who reads your own writing and makes adjustments as you would think a reader who is a stranger to the topic would need. Now, not somebody who doesn't understand what America is or what the House and the Congress are. They have basic knowledge, but the specific stuff you have to make clear to people, like what a 0.1 move to the right or the left means. You don't really explain that, so it's kind of hard to understand what it might mean, to infer what it means. You've got to pay attention to detail, you've got to do a good job of reading it, and you've got to also, and this is the second thing of the two things I mentioned, try to make sure you police yourself for repeating yourself. You seem to be in a little loop on a few of these things where there's getting kind of redundant, and that's hard for the reader to get through. It doesn't lend confidence that what they're reading is of high quality when you see repetition in a piece of writing that is short as this. So again, I want you to do well, I want you to get something out of this class, but the onus is on you to do the work and to really, devote some time to this and polish this thing up and make it better. Take my edits, take what you have on the page, watch the video as many times as you need to, clean this thing up, and resubmit it, and we'll see where it's at, and I'll see if I have any further advice I can give you or changes I can make to sort of keep trying to level it up and level it up. That's the game we're in right now. We're going into the home stretch. We've got about another week left, so now's the time. All right, thanks.